The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
TV party tonight! What? TV party tonight!
Oh, we got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else.
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated to our favorite shows!
Oh, my circuits!
Everybody loves Hypno Toad.
Scary dog!
Dancing at Blurnsville.
Futurama!
Good evening. You are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting premiere podcast TV party tonight. I'm the birthday boy. Also, your mandated reporter and frankly unmortified Mr. Mark Radulich. And over there is my birthday sweetie, Jesse Starcher. How do you do, sir?
It's your birthday today? It ain't your birthday today. Facebook failed
tomorrow.
me. If that's what I thought. Okay, all right. I had to double check for like a quick second. I was like, I know it's soon, but is it that soon?
You
All
are
right,
officially
tomorrow.
You are officially kicking off my birthday week because I decided to be a girl about it and celebrate my birthday all week long. I'm not quite at the level of wanting to celebrate it all month long, but this is my birthday week, Jesse.
Okay, well, I want to say happy birthday to you, sir. And I'll tell you that tomorrow too, most likely.
Yeah. But it's not over for you after this. After tonight, you're coming back on Thursday for my birthday party.
Oh, yes, indeed, sir. Speedy, are we ever having a good party that night?
I was telling somebody earlier today that you and I and Robert, the wise men, a couple years ago, backed ourselves into a review of Too Old to Die Young, directed by William Winding Refn.
Yep.
And it was less a podcast than it was a therapy session.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got to experience, I should say, the Neon Demon this morning. I woke up, immediately went downstairs. It's like, it's time to start making some notes to get ready for Mark's birthday party. And I watched the Neon Dion Sanders, the Neon Demon.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's right, Winfrey. Oh my goodness.
And he wishes me a happy birthday as well. Yes, I will be 49 years young. Actually, that's not true. I feel every bit as fucking 49, man. I took this week off this past week. I go back to work tomorrow because my son graduated elementary school. He's going into 6th grade. And on Tuesday, I went with him and his mom. We were chaperones for his school field trip to Universal Studios because, that's how we do here in Florida. And one day of walking around Universal, and my back was fucked for like the next 3 days.
How many steps? Did you keep track of your steps?
1.21 gigawatts.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thanks for answering that so honestly.
I don't track my steps. Anyway. So, yeah, I've been hurting. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to kick off my birthday week. And what better way to kick off my 49 years on this planet than by looking at the 2003 adult animated series that aired on Spike TV for a cup of coffee.
Yes, indeed.
Stripperella, starring everyone's favorite sweetie, Pamela Anderson.
Yeah, I get to looking at what's on the schedule. I'm like, okay, I got to prepare what's upcoming. And I see this. I'm like, what possessed you to want to do this? Is it something that you watched previously and you were like, okay, we've got to experience this? It just seemed like so out of left field for some reason.
Hi, I'm Mark. Have we met?
He is Mark Radulich, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, look, it's your birthday week. I understand, but this just seemed just weird. I don't know why.
let's talk about why I selected this to review on my birthday week, Jesse.
Okay.
In all seriousness, I didn't watch this when it came out. I knew of it, and I think at the time, because I was such a snob, I was like, Stan Lee, old man Stan Lee, in his horny years, develops this adult cartoon show about a stripper who's also a superhero, starring, you know, the boobalicious Pamela Anderson. I'm not gonna watch this crap. This is beneath me. I would later go on to work in the pornography industry as a as somebody who did the marketing and advertisements for videotapes. So, needless to say, my snobby years have passed,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, it's my birthday week, and I want to do fun things with fun people. And it can't all be naked swimming, right, Jesse?
That's right. It could be. I mean, this is close to naked.
Well, so I said, I said, what haven't we done? What is a single season of television what Jesse and I could talk about that would be fun, that isn't going to make me cry? This makes me cry. I quit podcasting.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Wow.
Isn't going to like trigger a recent, emotional memory of any kind. What's just something fun? And I said, I've never watched Stripperella before. I'm kind of morbidly curious, and I'm past my snobby years. So, and there's nobody else in the there's nobody else that I work with on these podcasts that I think I could get a good conversation out of about something as silly as Stripperella. So that's why I wanted to do something fun. I wanted to do something. It's my birthday week after all. I wanted to do something a little naughty, Jesse, just a little,
just tiny bit.
I mean, and we've already talked about the Deuce.
Yes, we did.
What we've talked about Pam and Tommy. Like, what other sex adjacent television show could I talk to you about that wasn't going to make you quit the podcast?
Stripperella. Wow. Man, this thing was not on my radar. I think I've heard of it. I didn't know that. I had no idea where it was airing. I honestly,
I can't get Instagram to work tonight, but my girlfriend is now watching on Facebook. She's
all right.
Like, I'm interested in why you picked this.
Yeah.
She should know why. Anyway, you were saying, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say it was something that flew completely under my radar, especially with me being so, like I was reading comics in 2003. I was kind of keeping up with the comic book news as well. I had no interest, and nor did I know very much that this was out there. So, but it is odd. It's Stan Lee of all people coming up with this, and I thought there would be a comic book that came first, but there's no comic book at all. Apparently, they were trying to get one off the ground, but there is not one. And I was like, oh, this has got to be some kind of like weird Marvel thing that Stan Lee, mature audiences. Nope, not the case. It was going to be, I think the one that they had proposed was from a different company. Clearly, I don't think Marvel would put their name on something that says Stripperella on it, but who knows? But Stan Lee, of all people, 2003. Yeah, man, this one boggled me.
I think it's hilarious that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and all them, they start off life as people who are interested in science and interested in mythology, and kind of taking those two lines of fiction and merging them together, and you get such iconic figures as the Spider-Man, the first family of Marvel, Fantastic Four, the Silver Surfer, Iron Man, Captain America, the Hulk. And years later, he's like, I don't care about any of this anymore. I'm old and I'm horny and I like tits. So, what do you have on your mind, Stanley? Tits. That's what I have on my mind. And, oh, well, we can't just call the show Tits, Stanley. You have to give us more than that. Fine. What if James Bond, but also a stripper? And
yeah.
And they came up with Stripperella. And I have to tell you, like I said, back in my snobby years, there's no way I would have watched this. This is garbage. I didn't know what I was getting into, to be honest with you. I knew what it was. I knew that years ago Stan Lee had developed this, and ended up on Spike TV. And I was like, okay, I want to see what this is. Is it as bad as I think it's going to be? Is it like drawn together bad? You ever watched
Ooh,
Drawn
I was going to say that was something that was mentioned. I never watched Drawn Together.
Oh, you
But I
are
remember in my
missing out.
research, I heard it is definitely a little bit over the top from my understanding.
Stripperella appearing in Doomsday might be the only way to save it.
Well,
they're filming it now. Someone send them a message.
oh yeah. Should
Anyway.
be that 137th chair that shows up. Pamela Anderson, Stripperella. Oh boy.
Oh, that'd be hilarious. Yeah. I didn't know what this was. I was curious to check it out. It's so much better than it has any right to be.
Well, it definitely gets started slow, in my opinion, and then it finally starts hitting its stride, I think, in the middle of the season. It was kind of a rough watch there at the beginning, but go ahead.
Well, it's funny. My God, Robert, do I need to send you the link? Do you just want to be on? Filming without a description, paying each other actor like a minimum of $20 million. Yes, sir. Okay. So down, boy. All right. So what is Stripperella? Is an American adult animated superhero comedy television series created by Stan Lee for Spike TV. The lead character is a stripper. Get this, Jesse. Her name is Erotica Jones.
Look out.
Erotica Jones. Let me ask you a question. When you were naming your firstborn daughter, was erotica a consideration?
Come on now. You know erotica's her stripper name. That's gotta be, right? Or she can't go by Stripperella as much as she tries to let everybody know who she is.
That's her superhero name.
That's her superhero name. You can't use Stripperella on stage. Erotica's got it, so she's got to have another name. Come on. Probably not in the wiki, but no, I did not. I did not. That's her Christian name. Yeah, I did not think about naming any of my children Erotica, anything of the sort.
Okay. Who is secretly the superhero secret agent Stripperella, voiced by Pamela Anderson. It was produced by The Firm and Spike Animation with CGI animation provided by Nickelodeon Digital. It was rated TVMA in the US. It debuted on Spike TV in the summer of 2003 and lasted one season with 13 episodes, which were shown out of order, by the way. Which is, I think, like when I watch this, it's funny because it repeats the Beauty and the Obese twice. And then it shows you the second part. Yeah. Like the first episode is Beauty and the Obese, and then it goes into the next, whatever it was. Then like mid-season, because I remember I was watching it with my girlfriend yesterday, and I start to see it shows. I'm like, did I reset the whole season over again? Like where am I? And then I realized it repeats at least one episode.
Interesting.
So for a grand total of 14, like almost like they showed that as a, almost like they showed that as a pilot. And then they went into the other. It also changes. Like some of the characters change their look midway through the season.
There's a new animation studio that takes over, which I think that's what The Firm comes in at one of these episodes. I can't remember, but yeah, the animation definitely changes up.
Yep. Anderson described it as not being a raunchy show, despite obvious double entendres.
Yeah, I was going to say that there was plenty of those.
And topless nudity, which was blurred out when shown on Spike TV.
So let's stop real quick. Was yours blurred out?
Yes.
Oh, mine
so
was
I
not.
bought mine off of Amazon Prime. I bought this.
Okay.
I now own Stripperella.
I would like to say I bought it, but I did not. I had a friend on the internet help me out there with that, and it was completely uncensored. So,
you went on the high seas, huh? Oh, you got to see cartoon booby, huh?
I did. There's plenty of it. Jeez Louise.
Did you watch this with your Appalachia wife?
No.
This one you were on your own. You didn't beg her, Mindy, please. You must watch Stripperella with me.
I did not want to explain cartoon boobs to anybody in the family.
Had to watch it in the dark when no one was watching. Huh?
It's just 11 o'clock. Okay, Stripperella time. All right, here we go.
That's what I like to call it. Rob Owen of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette gave the show a positive review, saying it was unexpectedly clever. Yeah, we need to talk about that, albeit sometimes crude, and that its tongue-in-cheek humor was reminiscent of the 1960s Batman series, which I would absolutely agree with. So, yeah, let's get into what this is. So many comments.
Oh, boy.
My girlfriend's comment, you own it. Fabulous. Amazing. So yeah, the whole concept behind this show is that it's basically James Bond.
Yeah, it's
She's
James
a
Bond.
secret agent. There was another one that this kind of reminded me of where like a Danger Mouse kind of a thing.
Oh,
we have
wow.
a secret agent just kind of living their life, and then there's like a secret phone ring that rings. In the case of Erotica Jones, it's her belly button ring.
Mm-hmm.
And then she opens up, her phone. I think in one episode it's like a pill box,
That's her. It's her birth control, right?
Yeah. There's other things that she uses throughout the series, and then the chief kind of gives her a brief synopsis of what's happening, and then she has to go report to the chief. And Maurice LaMarche, who is the brain, I believe, in Pinky and the Brain, and he's done some other characters, which is something I got to talk about. But he is the funniest character in this entire show. He has the funniest fucking one-liners. Every time she went to go see the chief, he was always like wearing like women's underwear, or there was some other thing going on, and he was
he was going to give a kid circumcision, and he had a chainsaw. She's like, you don't do that with a chainsaw. He's like, oh, well, thank goodness I'm not religious. And then he puts the chainsaw down, and everybody leaves. It's like some of the stuff is just hilarious.
There was, like I said, there's an early one where he gets up from the desk and he's wearing like panties and high heels, and he's like, well, thank God I didn't order such and such. There's another one like, thank God I wasn't married. There's like, he's got so many, like, it very much reminds me of like the Naked Gun / Police Squad, that kind of like humor. Yeah. And that's when I started to key in that the writing on this is actually funnier than you'd ever think it was. Like, you would think because it's Stripperella and it's Pam Anderson, it's all just going to be overt raunchy sex, and and like, if you've ever watched Drawn Together was gross at times, and that's me saying that.
Yeah.
But that's not this show. This show is more, it's actually like a very feminist show. I don't know if you picked that up, but Pamela Anderson plays Erotica Jones as like the voice of morality. The fact that, like, if you take away the stripping part of it, which I know for some people they'll never be able to get away from it. But if you take away from the fact that she's dancing naked, the rest of what she's every episode, she's just like, and we should take care of animals, and we should do this. She's almost a nag. She's not quite as bad as a nag, but she's definitely got the moral superiority thing going on, which is really hilarious to me.
She throws that in there. It's clearly a gag, but it's also like, a good message at the same time, especially about her anus, or animals need universal support, I think is what it was.
we need to keep all the animals in my anus. Animals need universal support.
That's right.
It's like that kind of humor, which I don't know, I found it funny. But every time she talked to, by the way, the chief's name, Chief Stroganoff.
Yes, Chief Stroganoff.
I had to explain that to my son today. My son's like, "Oh, is that like supposed to be a masturbation reference?" I'm like, "No, it's beef stroganoff, you psycho."
That's a masturbation reference.
Yeah, well, I think my favorite double entendre villain name in this thing is Clitoris.
Oh, Queen Clitoris! Oh my goodness!
We don't want to overstate. We don't want to overstimulate Queen.
All episode long was nothing but how they were going to lick Clitoris.
Right.
It's just like, jeez, criminy. They ran that into the ground. They knew they could too. Which was hilarious.
And there's a lot of that in this. One of the things I wanted to talk about, besides, well, let's stay with this. I don't want to jump all over this. We'll never make it to an hour if I do that. So, what did you think of just strictly the way it handles parodying the spy setup? The spy in disguise goes to see a chief, does a mission, and there's a James Bond-esque villain of the week, or as you put it on the West Wing, a monster of the week kind of structure to this thing.
I mean, I dug it. I think that was a good way of framing this. We're going to take that whole concept and we're going to add a very over-sexualized tinge to it. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, we have Agent 007. What is Stripperella's agent number?
69, baby.
Yeah. tattooed right on her rear end.
Where else would you tattoo it?
But yeah, I mean, I thought that was okay. I didn't rub me the wrong way. I thought it was a good way of setting
Oh
this up.
no.
Did not, as a matter of fact. Did not rub me up, down, left, or right, one way or the other. But no, I thought it was okay. I mean, what a good way to do a cartoon. You mentioned Danger Mouse. I kind of also got some Inspector Gadget sort of feel to this, which is just a little bit, but because she uses those devices in some way that I think at one point her boobs are inflatable and they help keep her afloat, if I remember correctly.
At one point there's like flashlights or like reflectors on them.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I that's kind of what it reminded me of, but yeah, I mean, it made it enjoyable and somewhat.
Yeah, so the structure of almost every single episode, except towards the end when they're in Vegas, they break a little bit with the structure, but they open in the strip club usually, or they cold open with some part of the villain's plot, like the Beauty and the Obese. Was it Dr. Caesarian? Is his name?
Yes, Dr. Caesarian.
They're at a runway model show, and one of the models blows up and gets really fat and then falls on the audience.
I will say that some jokes, they are, here we are 22 years later, and I'm not saying all of them, but some of them, what they're poking fun at, I don't know how well that would fly over today, especially Agent 14, and we'll talk a little bit about him here in a second, I'm sure. But anyway,
because I don't remember what you're talking about.
Agent 14, the mentally stunted guy.
But here's the thing, like that doesn't age well only if you're super sensitive, like a clitoris, because otherwise, I think they handle him well. They gave him agency, they gave him competency.
I mean,
he's just handy capable. He's just handy capable. He's handy capable. Jesse.
All right, good enough. I'll leave it at that. Listen, if anybody gets the opportunity to find a video on YouTube. Watch Agent 14 and come back and report and tell us what you think. Because there's I think listening to Agent 14 talk might make people go, oh, wait a second. Okay, let's dial that back just a little bit. He comes out with a damn helmet on that says Agent 14 on it.
I get it. You can't go full retard. But
oh boy.
But on the other hand, I think that, I don't know. I've seen worse.
Okay. All right.
It's not quite Gilbert Grape.
Okay. Gilbert Grape.
Robert in with the hot takes this evening. Would never fly today should be this show's tagline.
Yeah. She wouldn't.
Anyway, so the structure is they cold open with either part of the villain's plot or they cold open in the strip club. And then we get the opening intro. And then she gets a call on her belly button ring. She talks to the chief, usually in the bathroom, and then she goes to see the chief. Then she goes to see the science guys, and again, this is very James Bond.
Very James Bond. Yep.
She goes to see the two scientists, and they give her. You know what it reminded me of? Actually, Leonard Part 6.
Oh, it's been forever since I've seen that movie, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
So before Leonard goes on a mission, he goes to see a gypsy, and the gypsy can see the future, and it tells him what he's going to need for the mission. And so at one point, like, the gypsy says him like, you'll need butter, and he's like, okay, and he's got butter in his fucking pocket, and he gets attacked by a giant lobster, and he's like, butter, and he's like throwing butter at the lobster, and the lobster is of course freaking out now.
There was a moment in the series where she was given oh my goodness, it was a high pressure something or other. Thermos, because she went undercover at a high school, and the thermos could shoot out some kind of pressurized liquid that would go through 6 inches of hard steel. And she goes, oh, I don't know when I would ever need something that goes through 6 inches of hard steel. And then of course later on in the episode, she's down in a cellar, and there's 6-inch steel door, and she's able to use it. But again, kind of putting that exactly in the frame of what you're talking about. She was given something, and that it's gadgets that are going to pay off at some point later on in the episode.
They may as well have labeled the lab Chekhov's gun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Stan Lee, by the way, did make a one appearance as a voice in one episode, I believe, unless I missed it somewhere else. But he was one of the lab guys, I think, in like the second episode or third episode. But anyway, speaking of the lab, continue.
So that, and then she goes off on her mission, and they're only 22-minute episodes with like commercials and shit. So, there's after she gets her gadgets and then goes on the mission. It's about getting clues. It's about solving the mystery. It's believe it or not, it's very much like a detective show. She's out trying to figure out. It's got superhero elements to it, but again, in that James Bond way, where the reason why it's kind of a superhero show is because the villains are so over the top. I want to transition into that. I love the villains in the show. There were a couple of them that stood out to me. Kathy Griffin as the bridesmaid cracked me the fuck up. Where she's stealing grooms, and her whole thing is that she's always the bridesmaid, never the bride, and so therefore, if she can't get married, nobody will. That is good stuff. That was hilarious. What'd you think of Kathy Griffin,
the bridesmaid? Yeah, I mean that one was pretty good. Her. Also, we're trying to figure out the clues, which is just like the biggest reach in the world, where Stripperella starts to realize that all of these people, these grooms that she's stealing, start with like the last, or start with the BRIDE.
She's spelling out bride.
As like, why would somebody do that? And that's the kind of humor that's in this show. She was definitely over the top. Kathy Griffin, perfect for the role, I think.
Then we have the beginning Dr. Caesarian, who was making models fat because of the way he got treated.
Oh yeah, Dr. Caesarian. And again, when those two episodes end, because we, like you said, it was a two-parter. Stripperella's doing a breast surgery on stage at the VH1 Fashion Awards and trying to get this breast implant out because it's going to explode, which is pretty funny. But yeah, that's a definite over-the-top villain right there. Then we have, I'm throwing this one out here. Then we have Cheapo. With the guy that runs around. He's in 2 episodes, I think, like in our first episode.
They bring him back a few times, and I was trying to explain this to my son. So his whole thing is that he's a cheapskate. So he doesn't do like big time rich schemes. He steals copper instead of gold. And my son couldn't get it. He was like, why wouldn't you just steal gold? And he was like, no, because he's a cheapskate. See, he has to steal copper instead.
Oh, that's funny. My goodness.
And he's like, hilarious. You say so, sir.
I thought at first what was interesting was if you listen to the voice in his first appearance, I thought that was John Lovitz for a quick second. And then I go to the IMDb and John Lovitz is credited. It's not him though. It's Maurice LaMarche. So I don't know why, but he did a great accent and made it sound like John Lovitz for sure.
So, I'm just looking at like reoccurring characters. You have Erotica's Workplace Tenderloins.
The Tenderloins.
The name of the strip clubs are fucking hilarious, by the way. So you have the wishy-washy owner Kevin, who's voiced by Tom Kenny. The swishy bartender voiced by Maurice LaMarche is got a couple of different. He's doing.
He's
that. He's Chief Stroganoff. He's Cheapo. Vince McMahon's in this.
Vince McMahon as Dirk McMahon.
Yeah,
let's not add the other strip club owner, which
Silicones.
I think he's in 2 episodes, maybe 3. One he was credited in, and I don't think I didn't hear him and didn't see him at all. So I don't know.
It's if you've been watching wrestling at all, it is very obvious.
You can hear.
Yeah. So we have that. We have Joey Lauren Adams
as Cat.
My God, she's so funny. That one. She's like, I just make sure there's no smoking and no vulgar language. And they're like, wait, we think you're going to be a great addition to the team. It's like, shut up, bitch. Just stay out of my way.
My favorite episode is her figuring out that Erotica is Stripperella, and then she continually gets amnesia, short-term amnesia.
That's where this lost my girlfriend. Because she was more or less tolerating it, and then they did the Looney Tunes-esque every time she got hit in the head with a bowling ball.
She remembered, and then she forgot, and then she remembered, and then she forgot. I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was my favorite.
And that was the thing. It was like the show is not that Looney Tunes. Like, that was the most Looney Tunes thing about it. Everything else was more or less, I mean, as silly as the show is, was more or less played within the realm of this is a real world, and they're doing kind of over the top ridiculous things, but they're staying within the rules of the world that they created. And then they hit this poor girl in the head with a bowling ball a dozen times, and it doesn't kill her. And instead, just, she does the I remember, I don't remember bit, which is funny. Don't get me wrong, but that was more Looney Tunes than it was Stripperella. It was
Sure.
a weird writing moment.
Had me on there. That last half of the season, like I said, I thought they were writing some pretty good stuff, and that was probably one of my favorite gags. Maybe because it was so Looney Tunes. I don't know.
Maybe. What other bad guys did you like? I love Cheapo. I think Cheapo's hilarious. I love the Bridesmaid. That one. Those, and Queen Clitoris, who is the ugly broad.
Yes, yes, indeed.
And it made me. She didn't make me laugh so much as every time they talked about her, because they had to do it's like, we can't rub Clitoris the wrong way.
I will find her. She's under a hood somewhere. Something along those lines. It's like, oh, God, come on. They just drove it into the ground.
And it's so funny because Pamela Anderson has to fucking read those lines straight.
Yeah. And it's interesting that I talked about we talked about the nudity.
Mm-hmm.
She had, and I don't know if you saw this in the wiki, I don't know if it's there or not, but she basically said, I do not want to be shown nude in this cartoon. So they always tease it, but it doesn't happen for her character.
They actually did the Austin Powers thing of like, the one southern stripper keeps walking in front of her, and at one point, like, she's like hugging a cat.
Yep. Yeah. Villains. We got small fry. We got small fry who turns into large fry.
I drove my girlfriend up the fucking wall with that. I was like, do you get it? Because he's short.
He's a short guy. He's a short guy.
So he has to be a villain because he's short? Yes, because he's angry about it. He's so short.
And his friends, the people that he gets together, are all short people. So they're all there's one's a leprechaun,
right?
They got good stuff there. I'm taking a look through to see what else we have here. Professor Cranium. This is the guy that this was where she had to go undercover at the high school. Professor Cranium was stealing all the smart kids and throwing them into the
setup to that is like, we're gonna have you go in as a teenager. She's like, I'm in like my 30s. Don't you think I should be? Don't you think I should be a teacher? And Maurice Lamont is like, there's no way that they'll buy you as a teacher. It's funny the way he says it. I can't remember the whole line. I think, and God help me, Jesse, I jumped ahead and I was trying to do a U. I was looking for quotes from this show.
Oh,
because this has got. I wish I could just find all the one-liners, like a supercut of the Maurice LaMarche one-liners in this show from Chief Stroganoff, because that alone is worth the price of admission.
The gadgets in that episode: fruit roll-up ladder, a banana phone, razor cheese sandwich.
Yeah,
razor cheese sandwich, and then the steel melting.
It's
thermos.
Like a gun. She squeezes the sandwich and the cheese comes out.
She takes a bite. She takes a bite and then it shoots the razor cheese out, which takes out a helicopter. I mean, It was just, oh gosh, over the top. All right. Let's see. The evil magicians was Mo and I think it was Mo and Walter, like the dummy, the ventriloquist that was a magician. Yeah. This was a weird 2-episode Vegas arc. This is where there's the strippies are going on. So I mean, I thought those guys were okay. Then let's see, Cheapo by the dozen. We already talked about Cheapo. Return of the Queen, episode 12, and then the Curse of the Werebeaver. Andy Dick as the nerd that gets bitten by a beaver and then turns into the werebeaver.
This may come as a shock to people, but beaver is a euphemism for vagina.
No.
And boy do they. And speaking of things they beat into the ground, so I want to switch tracks slightly. Unless you have something on your agenda, you got to be in your bonnet, in your beaver that you need to talk about. I'm watching this show, and again, some thoughts going through my mind. I've shared some of these on TikTok already. That the show is bizarrely feminist. That again, Erotica Jones is not perfect. She's got some flaws. All good characters should, but she's genuinely like a decent person, and she's like the moral center of this show.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about on TikTok about, it uses the male gaze to put eyes on a female character that has all the agency of any good male superhero. Which again, it would be so easy to just let her rely entirely on, her sex kitten persona, but she doesn't. Like, it's almost, they treat her stripping as it's no different than any other job.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I do. I do it to make money, and it's entirely separate from whom I am as a person and what I do to, in my work as a spy. Which I thought was an interesting take, and I wanted to get your reaction to.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It didn't really stick out too much to me, but it was there. So it was
Mhm.
something that I did see. I did notice that, she's very capable. And there are some times throughout this where it is, kind of said like, hey, women can do these things too. Why can't women do these types of things?
Right.
And, I, is it going, it's really tough to say like, hey, this is an episode that is kind of pushing forward a feminist agenda in any way, considering it's on Spike TV, which at the time, if I remember correctly, was television for men.
Yeah. It was like the early episodes of The Ultimate Fighter. Raw was on. I think TNN had just become Spike TV around this time, and what would Spike TV started with ECW, which was the forerunner to get Raw.
Yeah.
And Raw was on Spike TV for the first early little bit. But they, like I said, they also had The Ultimate Fighter. Remember the Man Show?
Oh, the Man Show,
which
yeah,
features girls on trampoline. Yeah.
Right.
Speaking of booba looba looby, there was some other choice shit on the early days of Spike TV, the show for men.
Right.
Robert in with 1,000 Ways to Die.
Yeah. I remember that one.
I think was there like an iteration of Fear Factor that was on Spike? I don't remember.
I don't remember. But yeah, it's interesting that they took this show and used some of that to be like, hey, yeah, this is the buxom stripper, but she's definitely able to hold her own and also get across, like you mentioned, the moral agenda.
Yeah,
the anti-Hallmark network. Beautiful.
But I think it's worth really highlighting that I didn't give the show a chance because I thought that's all it was going to be, was just dumb, raunchy sex humor. The sex humor is definitely a part of that. Don't get me wrong. Like it's absolutely there. But the show is more about, like, it's funny. I made fun of, Stan Lee at the beginning of this as like he's in his horny old man years, but he clearly had a similar mindset. Then you have the fact that I think Pamela Anderson was an executive producer on this show.
Yeah, she was very much involved.
I can't remember if this is plus or minus the sex tape incident, but she was very much aware of her public persona as somebody who is sex work adjacent, and she did not want to be seen as only that. She had a hard enough time. We've covered a lot of Pam Anderson on this network.
We have, haven't we?
Yeah, between Pam and Tommy, and then you and I talked Bombshell, or you and I talked the comic Bombshell. Sean and I think, did the
Barbed Wire
for it. Barbed Wire, yeah, that's it, Barbed Wire. And Pam Anderson was very much did not want to just be seen as I'm just boobs. It's actually amazing we've never really talked about Baywatch on here, but she was very much aware of how she was coming across and what she wanted to be. And in this character, she was like, I have to be more than just two giant tits running around, fighting crime. And I think they did a really good job of that. One of the last things I want to talk about, and then I'll kind of get your final thoughts. I'm watching this show, and other than I'm surprised at how good it is actually written, how it pokes fun at the spy genre without being without being mean about it, it's not being what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, this
Not
is clearly a parody of it. I mean, that's
right, but
my thought.
it's not mocking it.
No, it's not.
It's not coming at it in a disrespectful way. It's
Right.
saying this is right for parody. That's all we're gonna, like I said, it's more than Naked Gun or Airplane or that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
we're gonna have fun with this.
Yeah. But the other thing I noticed, I don't know, and this is what I wanted to ask you earlier, but I wanted to wait until we were further into the show. Did you watch Animaniacs or Pinky and the Brain? And then on the other side of that, did you watch Batman the animated series or the Superman show that was around the same time?
Yeah, I know what you're. So as far as Animaniacs, definitely.
Okay.
That was definitely on my agenda when I was 13, 14 years old, and I think that
Mhm.
was the Looney Tunes. What was the kid Looney Tunes show called?
Tiny Toons.
Tiny Toons, which I think came
Tiny,
before.
we're toony, we're all a little loony.
I think they may have introduced the Animaniacs to me, and then I might have. But now going to
Tiny Toons absolutely preceded Animaniacs.
okay, all right. What was the other one that was in the childish range there? Not the BTAS and the Superman, but the other one you mentioned. Pinky and the Brain.
Pinky
Never
and the
watched
Brain,
any.
which was-
Yeah, did not watch Pinky and the Brain, but I knew Pinky and the Brain from Animaniacs.
Jesse,
Yeah, I know.
Jesse, you need to watch Pinky and the Brain. I have very fond memories of writing my college thesis with Sean Brodigan and Big Boy, and us having to take a brain break, and we watched Brainy the Pooh and cried laughing.
Goodness! Oh,
that
wow!
breathless, semi-conscious laughing that was so goddamn funny. All I have to say to you is there's an E at the end of home.
Okay, duly noted. Duly noted.
You simply must watch Pinky and the Brain. It's so funny.
I hear you, and of course all the other fun people here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. They quote, what is it? Well, I mean, there's the classic one is, what are we going to do tomorrow, Brain? And I've, that's probably.
What are we gonna do tomorrow night, Brain? The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world. Dude,
now,
I can't tell you how much of my fucking sense of humor is Pinky and the Brain quotes. I still to this day like that'll do, Carrot. That'll do.
Yep.
Dude, I know I bring her up a fair amount. And I try not to because that was our agreement, but also I'm trying to get along with Melissa. But I will tell so this is actually a positive memory of Melissa. There were certain like code phrases that we would use to signal to the other one our state of mind at the time to avoid a fight. And when one of us had completely drifted off, the one would look at the other and go, "But me and Pippi Longstocking, what would the children look like?" That is a fucking line from Pinky and the Brain.
Okay.
And it absolutely signaled I was not listening. I am in my own world.
Oh, very good. I think me and the wife have a few of those as well. All right, you mentioned Batman the Animated Series and the Superman animated. Did not watch any of those. Knew they existed, obviously, but never sat down. This is just after, I think, where I could actually... I ended up losing my cable in 93 to like 96. So there's a whole Batman the Animated Series era that I really didn't get the opportunity to watch. We could pick up Fox on the old bunny ears, but it was tough to do sometimes. So I was watching reruns of Seinfeld at that time. That's about as far as I got. But I know where you're going here in regards. Are you comparing the animation style, or what are you talking about here?
Yeah, excuse me. The animation style is right out of, and I want to say it either shared animators or studios at the time with
well, you mentioned Nickelodeon.
Yeah,
I was going to say you mentioned Nickelodeon as well as the Firm, but like I said, I think the Firm came in afterwards. I don't know who it was originally. I could definitely see what you're talking about in the few earlier episodes for sure.
I picked it as soon as it starts in with the Beauty and the Obese. Like the way the regular people are drawn, the animation style is right out of Animaniacs and Batman the Animated Series. Like,
Mhm.
I watched every episode of Animaniacs, every episode of Pinky and the Brain. I watched most of Batman the Animated Series, and going back into the Long Road to Ruin days, Sean and I did a Long Road to Ruin on the first season of Batman the Animated Series, or Volume 1 or whatever it was. This animation style, and it's something I talked about on TikTok, is right out of that animation style, which I thought was interesting because, again, you would think something like this would be kind of lower budget or whatever. And I'm like, no, this, like, again, you take away the sex elements of the show and the nudity, and to me, this is, you could have put this on right between Batman the Animated Series and Superman.
Oh yeah. I don't know how well
From
it
an
would fare
aesthetic
without.
point of
yes, yes. From the aesthetic
I'm
point of
here
view,
for
I
the
agree.
whole block. From aesthetically, this was right in there with like Justice League and Justice League Unlimited.
Unlimited.
Yeah, Robert has a comment here. Bruce Timm influence is strong and it's better for it. Yeah, like this show screamed like WB Afternoon aesthetically.
Mhm.
Which again made me like the show that much more. I'm like, oh, this reminds me of the cartoons I used to enjoy.
Right.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say I agree with you.
Okay. So outside of that, I think Pamela. I think like I said, the voice work. Mark Hamill is in here. Mark Hamill actually played the Joker, so that's another reason why there's a lot of like familiar feeling to Stripperella. It uses Maurice LaMarche was on Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain. Mark Hamill was on Batman the Animated Series. I think like Tress MacNeille was also on Animaniacs. Trying to think of, there was a whole lot of other like voice actors that were on this. Yeah, Pamela Anderson, Joey Lauren Adams, Mark Hamill, Thomas F. Wilson.
Thomas
Thomas
F. Wilson, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And it was if I remember correctly, it's a very small part in this cartoon. Like, I'm talking pretty dang tiny, but yes, Biff from Back to the Future is voicing a character.
D. Bradley Baker, John Cryer, Serena Irwin, Tom Kenny, Kid Rock is in an episode.
Rock and Pamela Anderson.
Yeah. So when I was looking for quotes, the one that kept coming up was Kid Rock. I think we've met before. He's like, you look really familiar. And then like she like shows him a picture of the kid. He's like, I've never met you.
I don't know who you are. I don't know.
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
that barely even sounded like Kid Rock, by the way.
It was Kid Rock, though. It was Kid Rock. That was Kid Rock.
And then Jill Talley. So a lot of very famous voice actors on the show. So that's really all I've got. Do you have anything else that you wanted to talk about? Any moments from the show that, like we do with any TV party?
So, okay. I do have, look, I've got a list here and we could run down all 13 episodes, small descriptions. And then I'll talk about some of the things that kind of stuck out to me just real quick. I won't take very long. So Beauty and the Obese, we talked about that one already. Remember the Siamese twin? That was in that.
Dude,
and then
when one of them is like British and the other one's American. Oh my God, that made me laugh hard.
And Persephone is like interested in one of them. But ends up sleeping with the other, and the other one dumps her because she slept with his brother, and she's like, I don't know how he found out.
By the way, Persephone, did you notice Persephone changes midway through the season? It's a different character.
Persephone changes. This I think happens when the animation changes.
Right.
All of a sudden, like her accent changes every episode.
Yeah,
like every single episode. So I think that becomes a gag because
the funny thing about Persephone in the earlier episodes is she's topless the entire time.
Right.
She's wearing a bustier that just comes just under her nipples.
Yep.
So the entire time in the version that I'm watching, her tits are blurred out like every time she's on screen.
Right.
And then they changed her and she looks like olive in complexion and she's got a full top on.
I don't know why they decided to do that, but it seemed like it became a gag between a few episodes for sure. Yeah. She's British, I think, when they're on the mountain, skiing, and all of a sudden she becomes Russian like the next episode. So I don't know what's going on there. So that's that's our first two episodes. We have our run-in with Dr. Caesarian, and yes. We then have episode 3, Crime Doesn't Pay. Seriously, it's a poor career choice. And that is our battle with Cheapo. He's looking to steal the world's largest cubic zirconium diamond because diamonds are too pricey. Along the way, Stripperella is trapped in a giant glass bottle, nearly drowned in pennies, and ultimately thwarts the penny disintegrator, where she takes the pennies and she puts it in there. She's like, "Oh, I'm getting covered by pennies. I can't believe I got this penny disintegrator here. I'll be able to get out of this real quick." She puts one in and it takes 10 minutes to disintegrate the penny. She puts it back down and finally breaks the bottle and gets out. Very funny. That, like I said, I thought that was John Lovitz. It is not. It sounds just like him, though.
Yeah.
Then we have, episode 4, Everybody Loves Pushy. Everybody loves Pushy, Mark.
Okay, that was another one where I kept like needling my fucking girlfriend. Because again, in case you missed that this is a knock on James Bond, she's pushy galore.
Yep.
Pushy galore. Then later on, she's octopushy.
She drops her coat, which she wears all the time. She has 6 arms, and she's now octopushy. Along the way,
get it, Jesse?
Do you
get it?
Boy, do I ever.
Do you get that octopushy and octopussy? Do
Yes.
you get it?
Yes, indeed. So
this is where made for me in my old age.
This is where Special Agent 14 first shows up, which can make some people feel a little uncomfortable. Joey Lauren Adams and Vince McMahon. Joey Lauren Adams' first appearance, I think, is in this episode as well. Okay, so then we have episode.
What is it with me, you podcast, and Joey Lauren Adams lately?
Oh yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, wait a second, I recognize that voice.
Hey Jesse.
No, I know what the deal is, Mark. You don't even have to ask me.
Jesse. It's my
What's the
birthday.
What's
It's my
the deal?
birthday, Jesse. What's the deal?
What's the deal? SFW.
Yes, sir.
Episode 5, The Wrath of Klinko. Stripperella faces off against Klinko, not Kinko's. Klinko,
Right.
a mind control obsessed copy shop owner who plans to hypnotize the world using photocopiers. What starts as a local crime wave escalates into an attempt at global domination, all from behind a desk. Along the way, Stripperella battles cursed birthdays, sticky sabotage, and cotton candy crime fighting. So, I think it might be in this one. There is a very uncomfortable moment. It might not be in this one, it might be in the next one. But anyway, there's a very uncomfortable moment, the most uncomfortable moment that I had in this whole series, when a stripper's dad, it's Giselle's dad, shows up, who looks like Colonel Sanders.
Right.
Shows up at the strip club in order to entertain his business buddies.
Right.
By letting his daughter strip for her. And then there's a whole arc too, like where she her dad, Stripperella, or I should say Erotica, is trying to make her dad understand that, Giselle loves him and he should show her that he loves her too. Wholesome, a wholesome arc, I guess. But my goodness, when at the end, in order to show his affection, he walks up and he puts $1 in a damn G-string. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awkward. Okay.
Yeah, that was a little uncomfortable.
Yes. All right. Most uncomfortable moment, I would say. Episode 6. Tell me who you think the villain is of this one. You only lick twice.
That would be
That's
our
right.
Queen Clitoris.
Queen Clitoris shows up. Meanwhile, the show dials up double entendres, celebrity cameos. Yes, this has got Fabio as Armando, Kid Rock, Pamela Anderson show up, and an animated Weird Al. Doesn't say anything, but he's definitely juggling with the monkey in this episode because Kid Rock is having this huge party.
I was gonna say, now I have to go and spank the monkey.
All right. Then we have episode 7, The Bridesmaid. We talked about Kathy Griffin.
Hang on. Can I stop you for just 1 second?
Yes, you can.
I announce you, foot and face, you may now kiss the bride. What's worse than killing them? She may actually marry them. I don't think that's worse than killing. Clearly, you've never been married. And we're about to give you an STD. A what?
Oh, my goodness. This is the tracking device. Tracking device.
Evildoers prepare to become evil don'ters.
Yeah. I wrote that one down.
I'm going to take a bite out of you, but not in a way you'll enjoy. It won't be pleasant.
No.
I'll admit you definitely have some valid reasons for not liking models. You can't really harm heights. Why do you hate models so much? Because my whole life, beautiful girls have spurned my advances. I vowed that one day I would make them all pay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That is Dr. Caesarian. Was that who that
Yeah.
was? If I remember right. Okay. The bridesmaid. Yes, Stripperella goes undercover as a bride equipped with wedding-themed gadgets and a fake fiance. But when her fake marriage becomes emotionally complicated, things get more tangled than a bouquet toss gone wrong. Now, this one had gadgets, the bustier flashlights that you were talking about, veil gas mask, and a secret tracking device, the STD. John Cryer was in this one, I think, which played her boyfriend, or at least was trying to be her boyfriend. Then we have episode 8. Evil things come in small packages. That's Small Fry, who has a very massive inferiority complex. He plans to shrink the entire world so he can be the tallest man alive. Not only does somebody ask him, I think this comes up twice, like, why don't you just enlarge in yourself? Just make yourself larger. And he no, he's going to shrink the entire world. But in the process, Stripperella gets shrunk herself and fights him while fun-sized and ultimately restores order, but not without a few unforgettable twists and gags along the way. They have the bottomless purse in this one, the magnetic earrings, and the robotic Stripperella decoy that both the lab guys want to take home. Funny stuff. Then episode 9, Eruption Junction. What's your function? A string of student disappearances leaves Stripperella undercover at a local school with school-themed gadgets, suspicious faculty, and everybody was suspicious. It's so funny. She shows up there and everybody's like wanting to kill somebody. Every person she runs into, like they're like, oh yeah, they're real nice, and then she's all of a sudden she's like, but I could kill somebody. And okay, well I've already got like 5 suspects.
Right. I told you the show was like weirdly clever.
And he's the main plot is one of the main plots, aside from throwing all the smart students into the time capsule, the 50-year-old time capsule, he's also building a life-size paper mache volcano with real lava to erupt and destroy the city. So, all right. Next up, evil magicians. We talked about the 2 magicians. One is a real person. The other one is a dummy. They're making high-profile treasures disappear, from stealing the Stanley Cup of the Ice Holes, the winning hockey team, the Ice Holes.
Yes, correct.
And the Queen of England's tiara. Rodica, meanwhile, is juggling the case and her entry into the prestigious Strippies, which the Queen herself is judging.
But Vince McMahon says you'll never win it.
She has a brawl phone in this one, and after a little bit, there was a few episodes where nudity kind of took a back seat, like it wasn't happening in the episodes, and I was like, oh, they're kind of turning a leaf here and not having it. This is the episode where it kind of comes back. And then we have episode 11, Cheap-O by the dozen. After the Strippies, Cheap-O returns to Vegas with a new scheme and a literal crew of misfits. Again, Weird Al makes an appearance, doesn't say anything, but he's animated as one of the people that answer Cheap-O's ad. Then they're going to add, just like you were saying, they're going to rob the casino and steal all of the biggest copper nugget or something like that. I can't remember.
Right.
They're going to steal all the copper. Meanwhile, Erotica gets tangled in a personal dilemma when a musician crush confesses he'd never date a stripper.
Oh my God. The ending of that is hilarious because she's like, she doesn't want to tell him that she's a stripper, and she's having like, she's like, what do? I don't want to lie to the guy, but I don't want him to not date me because I'm a stripper. How do I handle this? He's like, well, let me hear him sing. And he's terrible. And and he's like, hey, what did you think of my performance? And she's like, I'm a stripper.
Again, like I said, I think the writing really ramped up here towards the end of this series. I thought that was a great way to end that episode. Okay, the return of the Queen. Queen Clitoris makes her triumphant return, sending Stripperella into high alert paranoia as someone appears to be stalking and threatening her. Erotica is sent to Dr. Feelgood for therapy, and the gang sets up a trip to lure the Queen out using none other than Armando once again and the classiest bar in town, the Wet Spot.
Yep.
Okay, so we didn't know about Vince McMahon in there, and then of course we got the episode 13, The Curse of the Werebeaver. An asthmatic nerd named Larry Talbot is bitten by a glowing beaver and transforms into the unstoppable bucktooth terror known as the Werebeaver as he rampages across the city, chewing through symbols of hatred. Okay, one of my favorite gags is them going, this is all set up so the beaver can come in, the Werebeaver can come in here and eat this thing, but they're like check out this beautiful wooden sculpture of a tree made from 500 redwoods in honor of trees. You're just like, what? It's this massive wooden sculpture that they decided to, in order to show respect for trees, they knocked down 500 redwoods to do it. Yeah, and she ends up like, this angry mob's trying to kill this werebeaver, and you mentioned the whole animal thing and the moral lessons that she would put out there. She's trying to get the mob not to kill the beaver because it's an animal, but once he turns back into a man, it's okay. I think we can kill him then.
Typical.
Yeah. But anyway, I had fun with the series. I had a good time. It was so like, I didn't know what I was getting into either. I had no clue. Stripperella, I was like, okay, is this? I didn't know where it aired. I didn't know. I certainly wasn't expecting nudity.
Yeah, I was curious when you. So, I didn't. You're one of those people who kind of. You said something to me that kind of Robert said the same thing. They were just like, "This is your show. Like, we're here for you. We're here to have fun, and support you and everything." And we know that like you're kind of running the show, which is weird because I've always kind of approached this like collaboratively, but it's weird that both you and Robert both kind of approach this from, we trust you, Mark. Whatever you're going to throw out there, we're willing to give it a shot because you've even with reffing and weirdness that you never lead us astray. There's always at least a good conversation that comes out of it. So like I threw Stripperella on here, didn't bother to tell you about it, didn't tell you what you were doing. I was just like, I'm doing this with Jesse. He's not going. You're not going to say no, and you're not going to ask me why. You're just going to show up prepared. It's great, but I am curious. What did you think when you first saw it on the calendar with your name on it? Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, that was the exact thing that went through my mind. I was like, is this actually something? And I had to double check to make sure it was on your schedule, because I was like, what? How did this get on mine? Something's messed up here. So yeah, again, I was at a loss as to why you picked it. I didn't understand where you were going with it, but I was down for the ride just to see what it was. I wanted to see, because I had heard about it. I just never had any interest like you did to kind of sit down and really watch it. So
I do remember thinking like, I think this is post barbed wire. And I remember thinking like, and I remember thinking at the time after barbed wire, like, are we just giving up any pretense of any, we're just going to lean directly into sexy now. Like we've completely given up on any veneer of, this isn't always about sex and we're just going to lean into it. I think it's probably why I shied away from it in the beginning. Now I don't care. Now I'm in my old horny years,
She did have a barbed wire tattoo on her arm. I do remember seeing that, which I thought was, that's probably a nod to the film that she did. And it's definitely post Tommy Lee, because I just looked that up. That happened in the late 90s. This is 2003. It's about, and she's, like I said, with Kid Rock at this point.
Yeah, I'm not surprised she was very protective of her image when she did this show.
Right.
It wasn't good. Yeah. It wasn't just going to be like, I'm a stupid sex kitten and here's a bunch of misogyny jokes.
Did you read like why the controversy as to why this didn't get like renewed, or like one of the things that was the controversy?
I know there was a lawsuit. In 2003, ex-stripper Janet Clover, aka Jazz, aka Stripperella, filed a lawsuit in Daytona Beach, Florida Circuit Court against Viacom, Stan Lee, and Pamela Anderson, claiming she is Stripperella's true creator. And Stan Lee stole her idea when she discussed it in a private dance session. I just want to be a fly on the wall.
Stan Lee getting private dances.
I just want to be a fly on the wall when Stan Lee is getting a lap dance.
That's
true believer.
Well, it's so funny because that went through my head before I even heard about the lawsuit. I was like, what got Stan Lee and Pamela Anderson in the same room? That's unless he had this idea, which now I'm starting to see the timeline of things, is most likely, he took this idea, which, by the way, I don't know if you've heard, but Stan Lee is kind of known for doing something like this. Unfortunately, I love Stan Lee to death, but if you really dig into his history, a lot of stuff that you find out he took credit for things that he probably shouldn't have.
I thought like he's known for being a horny old man.
No, I can't say that. I can tell you that he's definitely been criticized for taking ideas from other people and using
isn't it like
them.
half of the guys from Marvel are like left Marvel because Stan Lee was taking credit for their work, and it's like, you didn't create these things, you jackass.
Stan Lee. So, he probably gets this idea from this stripper, and then he's like, oh, I've got an idea. And then he goes and he's like, who could we get to voice it? Well, Pamela Anderson's the hot thing still at this time. Let's see if we can get her on board. And she was definitely on board. Which, okay, as far as like voice acting goes, I mean, she wasn't horrible in this. She definitely wasn't like the best voice actress. But it's Pamela Anderson as Stripperella. I guess
it's funny. She is definitely held up by the other performances around her.
Yeah, and that
hers is very plain. Her dialogue is funnier than her performance.
Yeah, right. And there's so much delivery on everybody else's. Know, Maurice LaMarche definitely carried this thing. I agree with you.
Maurice LaMarche is by far the funniest person in the show.
Right.
If someone were like, would you watch it again? Like, would you watch repeats of this if you ever saw it? I would watch just a supercut of Maurice LaMarche's lines as Chief Stroganoff.
He had some of the funniest stuff, man.
He really did.
One of the notes I put down here was like, and this has nothing to do with him, but they animated his like office with this like fireplace you could stand like 20 people in. And I was like, why do you need that big of a fireplace? I think one of the first gags that really kind of made me laugh was like, she goes into Chief Stroganoff's office and he pushes this remote because he's going to show her a report and explain everything that's coming up. And this big wall turns around and all of a sudden it's just this black and white monitor that's sitting, it's like 13 inches across, way up high. And she's like, why do you need to upgrade your monitor? And he's like, well, I spent so much on the wall. I was like, that one made me laugh. I was like, okay, this has got some promise.
It was better than it had any right to be, right? Like, this was one of those where like you're a little skeptical going into it, and you watch it, like, this is actually damn funny.
It is definitely it's funny, and it's so like so many double entendres, so tongue in cheek. Just have a good time. Like, just laugh it up and try your best to get past some of the stuff that might make you feel a little icky.
It was definitely my sense of humor, because again, I can be like that kind of like obtuse or like obvious, like, get it? Do you get it? Like a 5-year-old. And it leans into that style of humor. So this was very much my speed. So, all right, that's really all I have to say. We don't need to be here fucking
let's go another hour. Let's go
not do another 2 hours. I'm so no. I was like, this is gonna be an easy show tonight. Jesse's so easy to work with, and this is like light fare. Just is like, no, let's talk more about feminism and animation. Like, oh my god, shoot me.
I'll pass.
So yeah, I very much enjoyed it. I would recommend it to anyone with this, with a sense of humor, who's not offended by cartoon strip joints. But like I said, if you're into like funny adult double entendre type humor, this is right up your alley. So, last words, Jesse?
Oh, buddy, I don't know if I could have handled a season 2. I would have laughed pretty hard.
No, but by the time we got to the werebeaver, I was like, and we're done here. Thank you. And
what else is left?
I don't need to see any more of this. Like, I got what I needed out of the first season, and we're good now.
They had to shave the werebeaver in order to inject it, by the way. Just put the...
Sometimes a beaver needs to be shaved, Jesse. Go home and wash out your beaver. All right. So tomorrow, taking a break from my birthday festivities, it'll actually be my actual birthday. I am born June 2nd, 1976. I'm so old.
That's right.
I will be spending my actual birthday, with Yale Robert Winfrey. We will be reviewing Karate Kid Legends, and oh boy, do I have things to talk about.
Uh-oh. Oh boy.
Then you and Alexis we'll be talking Last of Us Season 2 on Tuesday. And Thursday, we will be doing a triple feature. You, me, and Robert, the Wise Men, for my birthday party. We'll be getting together to talk Nicholas Winding Refn's Drive, Bronson, and the Neon Demon. Oh boy! And then I'm going to
Have
see
you seen the Neon Demon yet?
I have not. I watched Drive the other night. I have to watch Bronson and Neon Demon before Thursday.
Okay. It is the listen. You're going to know it's Refn, and you're not going to be missing much if you just put it on 2 speed.
Are you gonna write a skit?
A skit. What did I write a skit last time?
Remember you opened up Too Old to Die Young with a skit that we had to perform?
It was going through my head today. I was trying to explain to Kira, like, okay, the way this guy delivers dialogue in his films. Let me just explain to you. What's that? 20 seconds. I don't know. 20 seconds. Drives me nuts. Anyway, just be ready because you're going to feel a lot of Refn when you watch the Neon Demon. I'll tell you that much. And oh man, is there a message?
Can't wait. So that's Thursday, and then, like I said, Metallica. I'm going to see Metallica Friday night 1 with my daughter. Saturday is Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank, and then Sunday night I am going to see Ballerina and Metallica night 2. That's and doing night 1 with my daughter, night 2 with my son. Next week we've got John Wick Presents Ballerina. We've got the Indeciders covering Worlds Collide, and then we kick off Pride Month with a show that we have delayed from last year because Sean couldn't get his shit together. The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, and Hedwig and the Angry Inch. This past week, Jesse and I hung out yet again. We did a triple feature of punk rock shows, Pump Up the Volume, SFW, and SLC Punk. Robert and I reviewed Mission Impossible, and we talked the pushing back of Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars and the problems with Fantastic Four and Superman. Alexis, God bless her, hosted my kids and compared and contrasted the 2002 Lilo and Stitch to the 2025, and they had a great conversation about cultural appropriation and drag culture that was started by my son. Good kid. And then myself, Pat, and Sean talked the Karate Kid trilogy, and we got to hear Pat scream his defense of the Karate Kid Part 3.
Oh my goodness, a lot of Terry Silver references, I'm sure.
That's who he loves. Yes.
Well, all right.
All right, Jesse, go ahead and do your plugs because I'm starting to go.
Oh, he's starting to go, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, tomorrow on the Radulich, Source Material Comics book. You know what? I might as well not do plugs because apparently I can't get them out of my mouth. On the Source Material Comics feed, you can hear myself, Chris Armstrong, and Evan Bevins get together and on the Unspoken Issues podcast discuss Amazing Spider-Man, Round Robin, the Sidekick's Revenge. Oh my goodness. There's Spider-Man, Moon Knight, Darkhawk, Punisher. I mean, the hits just keep coming. The Secret Empire's in here. It's all sorts of craziness. You can hear us talk about that tomorrow. And then, Mark, on the 9th of June, just to kind of give you a heads up, brother, Killer Smile, Joker. Killer Smile is finally going to be airing. We had a fun discussion about those Joker books, and that's going to start off our trilogy. Previously, we finished out our trilogy of discussion of Sons of Anarchy, Redwood Original. Jax, 10 years before he is showing up in the Sons of Anarchy TV series. We get a nice little look at Jackson Opie and how a couple of events go down for him. He gets kidnapped, all sorts of craziness. I just throw this out there, a Spotify playlist. If you go to the Twitter, the Source Material Twitter, there's a Spotify playlist of me and Mark talking all of the Sons of Anarchy comics. It's 3 hours and some minutes long, but there's like 9 episodes in there. We talked all the Sons of Anarchy volumes, I think 1 through 6. Boy, I could be off on that. And then Redwood Original after that, which is another 3 volumes. So that's why we got 9 episodes. Check that out. That's all I got, Mark Radulich. Let's get out of here.
All right. Happy birthday to me. Happy unbirthday to you, Jesse.
Unbirthday to me. It's fine. I guess I'll wait.
Folks, thanks for joining us here on TV Party tonight. He's Jesse. I'm tired and want to go to bed. Be well, be safe, and behave.